Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, friends, fiends, and foes. Climb aboard the mothership, secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a Rocky Mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and we are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, wherever you may be listening beyond the Omniverse. It is an honor to have you here, and I'm so grateful for you being here and for you downloading and whatever else you do to just be a part of the show or to listen for whatever reason that may be. But yes, thank you so much for being here. It really, really means a lot to me. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, you can listen to me on Spreaker.com at We Are Paradox Media, and wherever else you listen to your podcast. Feel free to just tune on in. So I'm not doing the stream here tonight because it's story time, so what's the point? I'm doing Spreaker, so for my Spreaker peeps, there you go. But yeah, we're going to finish up our book, Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows, and then we're going to begin Mr. Stephen King's book, Cell. I've had this thing since I believe I was 16, maybe 15 years old. Holy shnikes. I know. People just don't take care of things the way they used to. And it could just be me because of all the loss and stuff I've had in my life. But whether it's clothes or books or different things like that, I take really good care of my stuff. And then my kids are just not them, but the ones that are young and just don't know yet and are going through phases and stuff. They're like, whatever, what does it matter? I never went through that phase because I did know how important stuff was. But yeah, and this also belonged to my stepmother who passed away. She had kidney issues and, she went in for dialysis, came home, and her mom was there, and she's like, Mom, I'm just gonna go lay down for a nap because I'm just not feeling well. And she never woke back up. Very sad indeed, but I'm just glad towards the end of her life that I made an effort to bond with her and make up with her because she was my dad's first and only wife after my mother, and we had issues while I was a teenager. That's why I ended up moving out early, was fighting with her, but she was a really cool person. It was really cool to bond with her after my dad had passed, and laughing and just cutting up and having a good time. And I think that's important for you, not for the person that you might be having issues for. You need to take care of this for you, because if you don't, you're going to keep carrying that around on your shoulders, and it's best to just be the bigger person, get through it, and God forbid, I'm not saying go and hand a knee weight on them, but call them, have an open conversation, mend that burnt bridge. So before we get to Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows, we're going to begin with our quote of the hour. So this quote says, willpower is the ability to eat just one salted peanut. And I gotta let you guys know, which I haven't before, and I used this thing years ago, and then somebody had a total fit, but there are prayers in this thing too, so let me know. Send it to weareparadoxmedia@gmail.com or whatnot if you want me to share the prayer as well. I'm just going to give you a little taste of it to let you know what to expect. So for this quote of the day of willpower, here is a certain prayer. It says, "Dear Lord, let me not waste time on things that keep me from searching you out. Your wisdom and mercy are mine if I will take time to ask. Amen." Short, sweet, and to the point. I remember when I was younger, I didn't mind praying by myself, but praying in public and in front of people always bothered me. But very short, sweet, and to the point. That was a really good one. All right. I don't even know if Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows will last the full hour, but we shall try. Again, I also had some thoughts pop up. Did you guys hear about those two people? I believe it was a male and female that came from China, and they were smuggling this fungi. Really, he wasn't a fun guy. It was fungus, and I believe it was 3 or 4 bags of it. This mushroom, this fungus, which is really strange to me because generally you need to have shade and different things like that for fungus, but I guess the growth of the wheat would cause the shade. So this would probably be short-lived because once it kills it, it'll be gone, but it was supposed to wipe out all of our wheat crops. That is crazy. That is so crazy. But luckily, TSA did their job for once and found the bad guy. Instead of harassing the good guy, they actually found the bad guy. Thank goodness for that. And then, did you also hear that Mr. Trump is fighting with Mr. Musk? They're going back and forth over this big, beautiful bill. I'm telling you, it's the biggest, most beautiful bill I've ever seen. Yeah. If Elon Musk doesn't agree with it, like, where the hell are we going? And I don't know. Why do we have to have 1 trillion different bills on one bill passing? Can we go individually, one by one, and do it that way instead of just lumping them in together? So there are some good things about the big, beautiful bill, but there's some really, really, really bad things about it as well. So, yeah, hopefully things work out for the best of the majority. All right, let's get back to it. This is by Ryan Caleo, Charlie Hernandez, and the League of Shadows. "You're lying," I said. "She had to be. My abuela wasn't killed by some witch. She died because she was old. I no so pequeno, but hold on. My story isn't finished yet. See, there are only 3 things you must understand to follow my little tale. 1. Romantic relationships between humans and Rockies are extremely rare. That is to say, I could count how many there have been throughout human history on my fingers and toes. 2. The number of these unions that have resulted in offspring are even more rare. Those I can count on just one hand. And 3. Of those unions that produced offspring, a morphling has always, and yes, you heard me right, always been born into that family. Not always the first generation, not always the second, but at some point and always within 5 generations, a morphling has indeed been born of these bloodlines. To make a big story short, Charlie, that was why your abuela taught you all those legends. She knew all this. She understood that one day a morphling would be born into her family tree. Furthermore, she realized that once La Mano Peluda became aware of the child's existence, they would undoubtedly send all manner of damned creatures to kill it. She told you the stories like she told them to your mother before, in order to prepare you, so that you'd be able to defend yourself, and if you happened not to be the morphling, like in your mother's case, she expected you to pass those same stories down to your children and so on. I was shaking my head. She could yap all day if she wanted to. It wasn't going to make me believe her. I mean, why should I trust some evil witch? Like I said, you're lying. Plus, I don't care what you say. My abuela died of old age. Because that's what I wanted it to look like, idiota. I didn't want to spook your parents and have to track you down all over again, but believe me when I tell you how your grandmother died, because I am that witch from my tale, and mine was the last face your precious abuelita ever saw before I snatched the life out of her. A grin spread slowly across La Bruja's face, one as genuine as it was wicked, and the ground seemed to tilt beneath me. I could feel the cold fingers of dread and disbelief tightening around my insides, and when I finally found my voice, it was barely more than a whisper. You killed my abuela? See, I did. You see, Pequeño. Our lives have been entwined long before you were even born, and fortunately for me, but not so fortunately for you, I now possess the very object I've been searching for. The object that will put an end to our decades-long game of cat and mouse. Grinning, she strolled casually over to the counter and picked up the cursed hunk of crystal. Immediately, it grew into a crescent-shaped dagger in her hand. The curved reddish blade glows darkly, as if the fortune flames had been somehow trapped in the crystal, and the smoky tendrils I'd been churning inside now swirled around its hilt like a swarm of angry wasps. The thing looked deadly. Wicked deadly. La Cuca's grin finally blossomed into a full-blown smile. Beautiful, isn't it? Put that down, I warned her. Ah, but I cannot comply, for it is this blade that makes it possible for me to cut the heart out of a morphling in such a way that I can still absorb its power. Your parents and abuela knew this, which is why they stole it from me and hid it all these years, but thanks to you and your little girlfriend, La Una, has finally found its way back to its rightful owner, and now fulfill its delightful purpose. Her smile had turned vicious again. It made me think of a venomous snake preparing to strike. Oh, and don't worry, Charlie. I'll dispose of your parents and your little amiguita as humanely as possible once I'm through with you. However, in your case, I'm afraid it won't be nearly as painless. I hear having one's corazon cut out of one's chest can be quite the excruciating experience. You're not going to hurt them, I growled as I hauled myself painfully to my feet. You're not going to hurt any of us, you stupid witch. Aye, Charlene, don't take it so personally. It's not like you will be the first morphling I've ever killed, though you will certainly be the last. So she's the witch from the legends of the morphling too, I thought, and hadn't she already said as much? The age of La Mano Peluda is upon us, Makuka purred, satisfaction filling her voice, and your death shall usher it in. She knelt beside Violet, trailing a razor-sharp fingernail along the bottom of her neck. Oh, and I lied, Charlie. Your little friend isn't fine. In fact, she's dying. The compound she ingested is actually high corrosive and highly poisonous. She's so close to the other side now, you have no idea. Shall I not thrust her over? Get away from her, I yelled. Alayate! Suddenly, a rage like I'd never known before ripped through me, angry and hot like acid boiling in my veins. I cried out as feathers burst through the skin in my arms and shoulders, as a familiar tingle pulsed at my temples, the horns growing out of the sides of my head, and then wings, huge, white wings, exploded through the back of my shirt. Incredible! Rakuka marveled. So much power contained in such a puny little vessel. I cried out again, and a blast wave of energy rushed out of me, blowing out the windows of the house and tearing huge chunks out of the walls. The freshly washed spoons in the sink jingled and jangled. Every single light bulb in the kitchen suddenly exploded in a glittery puff of glass. See! Rakuka cried, her eyes growing wider, crazier. See, keep going! Unleash the monster within! I squeezed my eyes shut. My whole body was pulsing with energy, vibrating with it. I could feel a flood of something like electricity that was surging through me, racing through my bloodstream, sizzling along the surface of my skin. Strength buzzed in every muscle of my body. My fingertips tingled. My bones burned like coals beneath my skin. I'd never felt so alive. It was as if I'd been plugged into a vast and limitless ocean of raw power. And now that power was flowing through me, the cells of my body conducting it like trillions of tiny copper wires. When I opened my eyes again, I saw that the witch was still smiling, still watching me with that awful glowing gaze. Meeting it full on, I lowered myself into a semi-squat and said, Rakuka, do me a favor. Think of a smooth comeback and imagine me saying it in a cool superhero voice. Her forehead wrinkled in question. Why in the world would you want me to do that? Because that's usually what happens right before the good guy hands the baddie his or her butt on a platter. And I flung myself at her, ready to claw punch her through the wall, ready to claw punch her to the moon, if that's what it took. Only, I didn't even make it 5 feet before the witch raised her free hand and some invisible force seized me, freezing me in midair. Going somewhere? She asked mockingly. With a yell of fury, I struggled wildly against the invisible hold, but it was useless. I couldn't move. Couldn't even blink. I could only watch as that crazy witch stalked toward me, smirking evilly. You've been a bad boy, Charlie Hernandez. She held her free hand out lazily between us, and the tips of her fingers began to glow as if they'd been dipped in purple fire. Tiny licks of flame danced along her nails as she took aim at the pair of dolls on the shelf, at my parents, and my blood went cold. Shall I make them pay for your behavior? Shall I make you watch them pay? Stop it! I screamed. Just stop it! Stop! But there was nothing else I could do to save them. Nothing I could do to save Violet. Nothing I could do to stop this psycho witch from killing everyone I loved. Oh, he just said he loved her. Oh. Rakuka's eyes lit with triumph, found mine. She whispered, Say adios to them, Charlie. But no sooner had the words left her mouth than there was a knock at the side door. I turned to see a couple of delivery people standing in the doorway. A real thin guy in an L3 t-shirt, Marlin's cap, and ratty jeans, and a woman wearing black visor-style sunglasses. They were pushing a dolly loaded with a huge wooden cough. "Who are you people?" Makuka hissed, looking between them. "Irene. We got a delivery for 437 Geralda Avenue," the lady announced. They rolled the coffin inside and stood it up by the fridge. Neither one seemed to notice the blown-out windows, the ragged holes in the walls, or the fact that there was a kid hovering almost 2 feet off the ground in the middle of the kitchen. I guess they were too busy. "Custom-made casket," the guy said proudly. 12 foot by 3 with silver trim, silk lining, and our patented extra-thin triple plush package. Makuka turned to me, disbelief etched in her face. "You ordered a coffin? To our final epic showdown. Is this your pathetic idea of a joke?" "Me? What? No. I mean, it would have been sort of funny, but I hadn't." "Well, someone did," the delivery guy said. "And we sure as heck are taking it back. Things crawling with tarantulas." I felt my eyebrows screw up on a big question mark. Did he just say tarantulas? The delivery dude grinned at me, a familiar ghoulish grin, then flipped open the lid of the coffin, and a swarm of huge black spiders poured out like a mini tidal wave of darkness, following across the cracked tile floor and slinging their silky webs at La Cuca. Clearly caught off guard, the witch fumbled back on her heels, slicing up the spiders with the cursed dagger. Then she shrieked and tripped and dropping out of view behind the island. "Charlie!" the delivery guy called, yanking off his cap, and I instantly recognized him. It was the Kalaka from La Rosa. Stunned, beyond stunned, really, I shouted, "What are you doing here?" as he and the lady scrambled over. "She glimpsed your future earlier today," the Kalaka said. "She saw you'd be in trouble. We got here as quickly as we could." I shook my head. "She? Who is she?" Then the lady took off her glasses, and I instantly recognized her too. The teary eyes, the puff red nose, the straight jet black hair. "La Llorona!" I yelped. I turned to run, but the Kalaka grabbed my arm and spun me back around. "Charlie, she's with me. It's her idea to come help you." Now that stunned me. "The verdad?" "Yes, for real," Lorna cried, sniffing back tears. "You're mi hijo. I couldn't let some crazy bruja cut out your heart and feast on it." "But you do realize I'm actually not your son," I couldn't help pointing out. "I am logically no, but you do feel the special mother-son bond between us, don't you?" I didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I went with, "Well, good enough for me," she said with a beaming smile. She had a nice smile, actually a little toothy and watery, but still nice. "Your little visita to the crying shack got us talking again," the Kalaka admitted happily. "I've been broken up for a few weeks, you see. Maria can be a bit gushy from time to time, if you know what I mean." "I'm not gushy," La Llorona shot back. "You're just emotionally dead half the time." The Kalaka sighed. "I'm not emotionally dead. Though I should point out that all Kalakas, myself included, are physically dead, or our emotions, however, are perfectly alive." "Then how come I have never seen you cry, huh? Not even once?" "Because I don't have tear ducts, woman." He took a breath, trying to compose himself. "Look, now is not the time for this. My 8-legged friends won't keep La Cuca busy for long. Charlie, you have to stop her. You have to end this." "But I don't think the The Kalaka raised one huge fist between my eyes, and I shut up. On his pinky finger glinted an old brass ring. A familiar design had been carved into the metal. The horns and feathers. I've always believed, Charlie. Fear may have blinded me, even twisted my actions, but in my corazon, in my heart, I have always believed. And so have I, La Llorona said. The Kalaka cupped my face, framing it between his bony hands. Charlie, so many of us have been waiting for this day, waiting for longer than we can remember. Now is the time of the morphling. Now is your time. End this. Terminalo. Do you hear me? Stop la mano peluda. Put an end to their reign. You're the only one who can do it, they both started to say, but suddenly their mouths stopped moving as their hands and faces began to glow. Dimly at first, then building in intensity until their clothes caught fire and their eyes began to melt in their sockets. In a last desperate act, they threw their arms around each other an instant before disintegrating into fiery ash. Half frozen with fear and shock, I looked around. Saw La Cuca standing on the opposite side of the kitchen, grinning, one burning finger aimed in our direction. She killed them, I thought. The thought went through me like ice water. That crazy witch killed them both. You murderer! I raged, feeling another rush of fury blaze inside me. You're nothing but an evil, heartless... And that was as far as I got before the witch once again seized me in her invisible grip. My arms were pinned tightly to my sides. My elbow joints began to bend painfully in the wrong direction. I could feel her hold tightening around my body, like a lead belt. I tried to scream, but realized I couldn't even suck in a breath. Less than a foot away, La Cuca stooped to pick up the mystical dagger, her eyes glittering with bad intentions. I'll try not to make this too painful, Charlie. Straightening, she raised the dagger between us, and the sight of its curved, wicked point sent my panic into overdrive. I kicked and bucked and squirmed, straining with every fiber of my aching being. But it was no use. It felt like I'd been wrapped in an invisible straitjacket made of steel. The witch studied my face for a moment with an eager look in her hungry green eyes. Calmate, relax. Her voice dropping, becoming a low, ultra-creepy hiss as she touched the tip of the dagger to the exposed skin of my chest. I don't know how it was possible, but the crystal felt simultaneously flamethrower hot and freezing, numbing my skin almost on contact. I hissed in pain and surprise, making La Cuca laugh softly under her breath. Duermes, niño, duermetia. Que bien La Cuca y te comer. My throat tightened. I knew that lullaby. It was pretty well known, actually. My abuela had even sung it to me once or twice, putting me to bed with it when I was little. It basically went like, sleep, child, sleep already, for here comes La Cuca and she'll lead you up. Something told me this lunatic recited it to all her victims, and just thinking that sent a spirit of fear through my heart. So this is it? I thought miserably. This is how it ends? How I die? And it certainly looked that way, but an instant before my life could begin to flash before my eyes, before I could even close my eyes, I heard the front door of the house creak open and a voice shout, Charlie! Charlie, are you here, dude? Chapter 36. Alvin! I felt a powerful rush of release and then an equally powerful surge of gut-wrenching terror. realizing Rakuka would just as happily kill him too. Madre! Aluka cursed. What now? Her fierce gaze flew to the doorway as Alvin stepped into view. He was holding an ice cream cone in his left hand and licking sugary drippings off his thumb. It looked like vanilla and fudge, Al's favorite. Charlie! Alvin's expression jumped from confused to freaked to curious before finally landing on googly-eyed fascination. His jaw dropped and his hand opened, releasing the ice cream cone, which hit the ground with a sticky splat. Dude, you're doing cosplay? Why didn't you freaking call me? In the instant Lakuka was distracted by Alvin, I felt her invisible hold falter and made my move. I lunged forward, swatting her across the face with one of my wings. It connected solidly, bone on bone, and Lakuka slammed sideways into the kitchen counter, sending plates and cups crashing to the ground. Alvin, run! I shouted. Get out of here! But, dude, I came over to apologize for earlier, he said. And how the heck did you just do that? Where's the fly system? I don't see the wires. There are no wires. An apology accepted, but you need to leave now. But I want to play too. Alvin, bro, I'll explain later. But run! Fine, he grumbled, pouting like a little kid as he went to pick up his mashed-up cone. But I'll be right outside if you need me. Yep. As Lakuka regained her balance, she snatched one of the short-handled paring knives from the butcher's block and sent it screaming at my face. The blade purred past me, grazing my ear, and buried itself in the wall behind me. Had I been standing another inch to my left, it would have taken my ear off. 2 inches, and it would have been all over for me. I don't usually miss, she said. And I don't usually die. Huh? Not a bad comeback. With another savage shriek, her mouth opened wide. And I mean impossibly wide. Like she had alligator jaws or something, and a cone of purple flames shot straight at me. I dove to my left, just barely managing to avoid instant death. The wall behind me caught fire. The little breakfast table was instantly incinerated. The stink of burning paint and wood piled my nostrils, scrambling my brain a little as I came up on one knee, preparing to drive out the way of another blast if necessary. It wasn't, because Laluka was bent over in laughter. Idiota! She sneered. You think you can avoid my blast forever? She had her gaze narrowed on me, seeming to burn even brighter. An instant later, the entire house began to tremble, the walls turning transparent, and then we were standing in the middle of a huge cornfield, the endless rows of grain swaying back and forth around us in a gust of wind. I blinked, and then we were on the summit of a frozen mountain somewhere. I blinked again, and then we were in Barcelona? I thought I recognized La Pedrera, that famous cultural center in Catalonia. You can't even fathom my power, boy. I am the most powerful bruja in all the world. The very air seemed to hum and vibrate with her power. I could feel it flowing out of her like something alive and angry. It crackled around me like invisible currents of electricity. The next thing I knew, we were back in the kitchen of the house on Geralda. For the moment, anyway. I am the most powerful bruja in all the lands, she cried, and suddenly her body began to change again. The skin on her arms and face hardened and cracked. Its color ran out, turning first a sickly white, then a darker, muddier green. Bony scales appeared along the sides of her neck. They mashed up against one another, forming peaks and valleys that ran down her back in thick, scaly ridges. Then her head began to swell, like a balloon. It expanded outward until it was about the size of a giant pumpkin, her eyes glowing so fiercely and brightly that the resemblance was impossible to miss. A jack-o'-lantern? That was what she looked like, a terrifying, maniacal, half-crazed jack-o'-lantern with alligator skin. "There's nothing you can do to defeat me," she bellowed. And she was absolutely right. I couldn't defeat her. She was too strong, too skilled like the other morphlings before me. The ones who had actually managed to beat her. I had to find a way to trick this witch into defeating myself. Actually, herself. And just like that, a plan began to form in the back of my head. "Hey, I was wondering something," I said suddenly. "Can you fly?" I stopped her like a pie to the face. "That's out of the blue." "I know, I was just wondering." She looked confused. "See, of course I can fly." "Well, I was just asking because you don't have any wings or anything, so it just doesn't seem like you'd be very good at it or very fast." Her face and mouth twisted into a humorless scowl. "Think again, runt. I am very good at it, and I am blazing fast." "Prove it then. Race me." "Race you?" She burst into laughter. "Actually, I think I'll just cut your heart out and call it a day." I shrugged. "Might as well. I'd probably smoke you." "You wouldn't stand a chance against me," she roared. "My power is beyond your comprehension." "Then, you shouldn't even break a sweat, right? In fact, I'll make you a deal. You beat me in a race, a fair race, and I'll let you cut my heart out. Won't even try to stop you. And if you win, how could I?" A wicked grin split her lips. Arrogance and pride oozed out of her like a busted pimple. "Excellent point. Let's keep it simple. We fly straight up and see who can fly higher and faster, cool?" "Colorado," she sneered. Then she raised a hand, and the door leading to the yard tore off its hinges and went tumbling away down the middle of the street. "After you." Once we were out in the yard, she said, "On your mark?" Too slow. I didn't wait for her to count us down, just exploded into flight. I knew that would probably make her raging mad, and raging mad was just how I wanted her. La Cuca was on my heels in a blink, her face twisted into a furious snarl. Perfecto, I thought, and couldn't fight back a smile. We shot straight into the dark gray sky, twirling around each other like battling hawks as we climbed higher and higher. My heart was pounding wildly. My entire body thrummed with each powerful beat of my wings. Obviously, I'd never flown before, not with my own wings, anyway, but it really did feel kind of like second nature, like walking or breathing. Don't tell me this is all you've got, runt, La Cuca hissed, and she put on a burst of incredible speed, pulling way out ahead of me. The witch was fast, brutally fast. Even with my wings, I knew there was no way I could beat her. Fortunately, that had never been the plan. I'm just getting loose, witchy. I gritted my teeth, put everything I had into flapping as the wind battered my face, and La Cuca's shrill cackling echoed in my ears. I have to push her, I reminded myself. Push her to the limit. Up ahead, the clouds pulsed with arcs of blue light. Icy rain peppered my face and chest. I beat my wings harder, flying higher, faster. I hope you're not gassing out on me. Queda cansada. I look tired, Key? Well, we'll see about that. We charged into the heart of the storm, thunder rolling around us like war drums, and gusts of updrafts tore up my wings, my clothes, my chest. Far down below us, through the swirling cloud cover, I could just make out the city of Miami, spread out like a world of Legos. We must have been close to 2 miles up. Just a little more to go, I told myself. Vamos, let's make this a challenge, Makuka cried, hurtling through the air with such speed that a bubble of white vapor had formed around her feet. I sort of remembered something from science class about how vapor cones were created by fighter jets when traveling high speeds through moist air. This looked a lot like that, except I'd never seen a jet fly anywhere near as fast as she was. We soared higher, slicing through the ribbons of wet black clouds. Then my wings caught an air current, shooting me forward like a slingshot. Hasta luego, muchacho, I shouted as I blew past her. Higher and higher we climbed, raising so high that the air became freezing cold and impossibly thin. It was like trying to breathe through a straw. Almost immediately, the muscles along my back caught fire, making every flap feel like it was my last. But I wasn't about to stop, even if it took everything in me, even if it cost me my freaking life. I was going to make sure that this witch never got a chance to hurt anyone I loved ever again. Come on, Kuka, I called tauntingly. You have to be faster than this. With a hellish shriek, the witch tore past me so fast, or wallowed in her current. I had to spread my wings out as far as they would go just to keep from being knocked out of the sky. We were impossibly high now, high enough that my ears wouldn't stop popping and my chest felt like an elephant was using it as a seat cushion. My lungs were burning, begging for air. Worse, blackness had begun to nip at the edges of my vision. Don't even think about passing out, I told myself. Not happening. Not now. Not ever. Come on, Kuka. Show me the limitlessness of your power, I shouted, flapping my wings with every ounce of strength I had left. Which, by the way, wasn't much, wasn't anything, in fact. Every cell of my body was in agony. My muscles burned like they'd been doused in gasoline and blowtorched. Still, I sucked in half a breath, sucked in what little air there was up here, and yelled, Stop holding back, you cowardly old witch! Old? Makuka let out a hissing howl of fury. I'll show you, old, you hapless halfling. I'll show you speed like your pretty mind can't even possibly imagine. There was a megasonic boom as she shattered the sound barrier, and then another one as she shattered some other barrier of physics. And that's when it happened. The witch had picked up so much speed that, all within a few seconds, she pierced the troposphere, passed through the stratosphere, and entered the mesosphere, where she suddenly began to glow like a miniature sun. It was right then, right at the very moment, that she realized I had tricked her, that I'd been playing her this whole entire time. Winning boy, she said through a vicious grin, and that was all she had time for, before she was engulfed in a flash of fiery light. Chapter 37. Up until that very moment, I'd never really truly appreciated how important school was. I mean, had Lakuka bothered taking a 6th grade science class, she would have known that flying into the mesosphere is a big no-no because of the gas particles that exist up there, but she hadn't, and, like a falling comet, the witch had been instantly incinerated. Unfortunately, though, I didn't even get a few seconds to celebrate my victory because just then my entire body gave out, and I started to fall. I had a moment to think about Violet, about my parents. even about my abuela and how thanks to her and all of the myths that she had taught me, I've been able to make it this far, and I smiled. It was a tired smile, and I did everything I could, and I hope you guys appreciate it, sort of smile. And then everything went black. I woke to the low buzz of conversation. Many voices, lots of people. Something long and wet and rough was being dragged gently across my forehead and cheeks. It felt like someone was doodling on my face with a scratchy paintbrush. Light stabbed through my eyelids, bright and hot. Somehow I sensed El Padejo was near. I don't know how I sensed it, I just did. Pretty sure that's what was licking his forehead. Then I opened my eyes, and there he was, licking my face with his beefy, pinkish tongue, his blue eyes shining like stars. But as my vision stabilized, his form began to melt away, and by the time I had blinked all the fog out of my eyes, he was gone. Dazed, I looked around me. I was lying in a crater the size of a swimming pool. The floor beneath me was all cracked tile and hunks of white limestone. There was half of a table to my left. The other half dangled precariously from the lip of the crater by one of its charred black legs. I recognized it. It was Mrs. Wilson's, La Cuca's dining table, which meant that I was back inside the house on Geraldine. For a long moment I just lay there, staring up into the blue, cloudless sky, wondering how so much crazy stuff could have happened on such a beautiful day. Then I sat up, and immediately regretted it. Dizziness washed over me in waves. My temples throbbed. It felt like I dropped out of the sky and crash-landed in the middle of a kitchen. I checked my body for cuts or broken bones, but I didn't find any. No feathers or horns either. Racking my brain, I couldn't come up with any possible explanation for how I'd survived the fall, but I knew El Cadejo had something, maybe everything, to do with it. I had to remember to ask him about it, that is, if I ever saw him again. Still fighting dizziness, I pushed to my feet and waddled over to the edge of the crater. The crater itself was about 15 feet wide and a little more than 5 feet deep, which meant I could just see over the rim of it, and what I saw were kids, dozens of them, hundreds of them, kids of all shapes and sizes, girls and boys, pre-kindergartners to high schoolers. They were wandering aimlessly through the house, most forming lines at the front door and filing slowly outside. All of them looked sleepy and confused and completely out of it. I didn't recognize any of them. Where did they even come from? Finally, I saw someone I did recognize. Alvin, over here! Alvin spun around. When he saw me, he raced over with all the fleet-footedness of a one-legged turtle. His eyes were the size of melons, and he was panting like he had suffered our first 1-mile run in 3rd grade. Big, gasping breaths that made it sound like he was choking on a Snickers bar. Boy, do I wish. Which, by the way, had also happened to him in 3rd grade, and only a couple minutes after that 1-mile run. Dude! He practically shouted in my face. You were flying! You were flying! Oh, you think? Yeah, there are a few things I should probably catch you up on, I admitted. He searched my face, his brown eyes wild. Dude, so you're like some kind of super freak then, huh? Basically, I said, then realized I wasn't even the least bit embarrassed to admit it. Funny part was, just a couple of hours ago, I'd been too ashamed to tell him about my manifestations. Too ashamed to let him see what I was becoming, but I wasn't anymore. See, at first, and like most people probably, I'd assumed my manifestations were turning me into some kind of weirdo, a freak, but What I didn't know at the time, what I couldn't possibly have known, was that it would be that same weirdo-ness, if that's even a real word. I say it is because I'm a weirdo and I have weirdo-ness. That would soon save my life, not to mention the lives of everyone I cared about. It had definitely taken me a little while, but I learned something from all this. Somewhere between almost having my heart cut out of my chest by the evilest witch in history and waking up in the middle of this limestone crater, I'd realized that the things about myself that make you feel awkward or different or drive you completely crazy are the same things that make you you. And you can't run away from who you are. You can't cry it away. You can't even wish it away. But once you accept yourself, everything about yourself, especially the weird parts, you'll finally be free to be you. And that's a powerful thing. A very powerful thing. And I agree. I have this fight for very long and just don't care anymore. I'm weird. I know it. And I appreciate it and embrace it. And I guess you could say that I'd finally accepted me. Still, I was surprised when Alvin said, "Man, oh man, this is awesome!" I blinked at him. "So, you don't think it's weird?" If possible, Alvin's eyes grew even wider. "Weird? Are you friggin' nuts? This is the best thing that's ever happened to me." Happened to you? He made a silly face. "You know what I mean." "I do," I smiled. "How long have you been like this, man?" "A couple months now." "Really? And why the heck didn't you say anything?" he burst out. "I don't know, I guess I thought you'd think I was a monster or something. I thought you wouldn't want to hang out with me anymore." He gaped at me like I'd just spoken the stupidest words ever uttered on planet Earth. "Bro, we're best friends, hermanos. I wouldn't stop hanging out with you even if you grew a coat of fur, changed your name to Fido, and started chasing your own tail. Plus, do you have any idea how many records this can help us sell? Well, we'll be the only band with the flying guitarist, like Harvard. We can finally drop out of middle school." Oh man. I'll do one more paragraph, then we're going to break. "Yep, typical Alvin, always looking for an angle. Rubbing a spot of paint on my forehead." I glanced around at all the kids milling around. "Dude, who are these people?" Alvin shrugged. "How the heck should I know?" "Charlie!" I turned toward the voice. "Violet, I was so happy to see her, so unbelievably relieved that she was up and moving and not lying dead and poisoned on the floor somewhere, that my heart almost exploded inside my chest." I scrambled out of the crater, and we ran straight at each other like one of those corny romance movies, except that instead of one of us spinning slow-mo hugs, we crashed together so hard we nearly went flying in opposite directions. "You're okay!" I shouted. "Yeah!" Her eyes were bright, blue, and shining. Man, it was great to see her breathing again. "And you? Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." I took a breath and tried to slow my racing heart. I got the witch." Well, guys, gals, and ghouls, we are going to go to our first music break. This break we have the lovely, the gorgeous, the talented Miss Mia Savage with Your Skeleton, Our New Reality, Let Me Be Your Home, and Lemurian Crypto. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break. seriously?
You're mine tonight. You're mine. You're mine. You're mine.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So, tonight we have been trying to finish Ryan Cjeleos' book Charlie Hernandez and The League of Shadows. Chapter 37. Up until that very moment, I'd never truly appreciated how important school was. I mean, had La Cuca bothered taking the 6th grade science class, she would have known that flying into the mesosphere is a big old no-no. I woke up to the low buzz of conversation, many voices, lots of people, something long and wet and rough on my face was dragged gently across my forehead and cheeks. It felt like someone was doodling on my face with a scratchy paintbrush. Light stabbed through my eyelids, light and hot. Somehow I sensed El Cadejo was near. I don't know how I sensed it, I just did. Then I opened my eyes, and there he was, licking my face. Dazed, I looked around me. I was lying in a crater the size of a swimming pool. The floor beneath me was all cracked tile and hunks of white limestone. For a long moment I just lay there, staring up into the blue, cloudless sky, wondering how so much crazy stuff could have happened in such a beautiful day. My temples throbbed. It felt like I dropped out of the sky and crash-landed in the middle of the kitchen. I checked my body for cuts or broken bones, but I didn't find any. No feathers or horns either. Racking my brain, I couldn't come up with any possible explanation for how I'd survived the fall, but I knew El Cadejo had something, maybe everything, to do with it. I had to remember to ask him about it. That is, if I ever saw him again. Still fighting dizziness, I pushed to my feet and waddled over to the edge of the crater. The crater itself was about 15 feet wide and a little more than 5 feet deep, which meant I could just see over the rim of it. And what I saw were kids. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. Kids of all shapes and sizes. Girls and boys pre-kindergartners to high schoolers. They were wandering aimlessly through the house, most forming lines at the front door and filing slowly outside. All of them looked sleepy and confused and completely out of it. I didn't recognize any of them. Where did they even come from? Finally, I saw someone I did recognize. Then, over here! Alvin spun around. When he saw me, he raced over with all the fleet-footedness of one-legged turtle. His eyes were the size of melons, and he was panting like he had after the first 1-mile run in 3rd grade. Big gasping breaths that made it sound like he was choking on a Snickers bar. Dude, we've read all this, but I'm sorry. I dropped the book and... here you are. Basically, I said, and realized I wasn't even the least bit embarrassed to admit it. Funny part was, just a couple of hours ago, I'd been too ashamed to tell him about manifestations, too ashamed to tell him and let him see what I was becoming. But I wasn't anymore. See, at first, and like most people probably, I'd assumed my manifestations were turning me into some kind of weirdo, a freak. But what I didn't know at the time, what I couldn't possibly have known, was that it would be the same weirdo-ness, if that's even a real word, that would soon save my life. I realized that the things about yourself that make you feel awkward or different or drive you completely crazy are the same things that make you you, and you can't run away from who you are. You can't cry it away, you can't even wish it away, but once you accept yourself, everything about yourself, especially the weird parts, you'll finally be free to be you. And that's a powerful thing. A very powerful thing. And I guess you could say that I'd finally accepted me. Still, I was surprised when Alvin said, "Man, oh man, this is awesome!" I blinked at him. "So you don't think it's weird?" If possible, Alvin's eyes grew even wider. "Weird? Are you freaking nuts? This is the best thing that's ever happened to me." And I know I read that too. Damn it! I don't know, I guess I thought you'd think I was a monster or something. I thought you wouldn't even want to hang out with me anymore. He gaped at me like I'd just spoken the stupidest words ever uttered on planet Earth. "Bro, we're best friends, hermanos." Yep, typically Alvin, always looking for an angle, rubbing a spot of pain on my forehead. I glanced around at all the kids milling around. "Dude, who are all these people?" Alvin shrugged. "How the heck should I know?" "Charlie!" I turned toward the voice. "Violet!" I was so happy to see her, so unbelievably relieved that she was up and moving and not lying dead and poisoned on the floor somewhere. Then my heart almost exploded inside my chest. I scrambled out of the crater and we ran straight at each other like one of those corny movies, and yes, we read this. They bounced off each other. I'm sorry, my book fell off my table and the bookmark fell out, and so, yes, I'm repeating stuff. I apologize. "Yeah, I'm good." I took a breath, tried to slow my racing heart. "I got her, V. I got the witch." As soon as I spoke the words, I felt this enormous, invisible weight lift off me. I could hardly believe it, but it was true. I defeated La Coca. I defeated her and saved everyone I cared about. Dang, that felt good, you know. "Yeah, you saved us, Charlie," Violet said, giving me one of her million-watt smiles. It was a smile that I didn't want to go a day without seeing. Not a single freaking day. I just opened my mouth, planning to say one thing, then found remembering something else. "What's wrong?" she asked. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for earlier, for all the stupid stuff I said. "Charlie, forget it. You had a lot going on. I get it. It's okay." "But it's not okay. I acted like a total idiota. You didn't deserve that. The truth is, you're like one of the best and most loyal friends I've ever met. I couldn't have asked for a better friend, and I meant it. She was awesome, and it felt great to get that off my chest." Violet was still smiling, but I could tell she was fighting back tears now. "Think you might give me a little too much credit?" I took one of her hands. "Nah, it's true. You were always there for me, Violet. And you never judged me, no matter how weird I got. You made me feel normal." Which in itself was pretty incredible, and if I had to bet, I'd say it was how quickly and easily she had accepted me that had helped me, eventually, start to accept myself. I owed her a lot. Violet squeezed my head. "Well, that's what friends are for, or should I say, pedal partners?" Her eyes held for a long moment, and when I didn't say anything, her cheeks turned the color of the inside of a guava fruit, and she gave a little shrug. "What? You don't want to be my pedal partner anymore? What? No way. Now you're just being weird." That made me laugh. "Of course I do," I said. Then I held out my pinky in the classic pinky square pose, and Violet hooked hers around mine. "Pedal partners for life," she said, smiling bigger now, and brighter. And I was smiling too as I squeezed her finger. "Pedal partners for life." "Oh, and, in case you're wondering who got the poison out of me," she nodded back over her shoulder, "see anyone familiar?" squinting against the thick shafts of sunlight pouring in through a ripped open section of roof, I scanned the crowd and saw a tall, slim lady in a neat business suit making a beeline straight for us. "Queen Joanna?" I shouted. "What are you doing here?" She wagging her finger at me. "It's Presidenta Joanna. You wouldn't want to confuse anyone." And just like that, I recognized her again. She was the current president of Spain, the first female ever elected to that office. I knew I'd seen her before. "And I'm not here in an official capacity," she informed us. "So let's try to keep it on the down low, as you kids might say." Flanking her were two Secret Service-looking dudes in dark glasses, dark baseball caps, and even darker suits that had these sort of cool hoods. One of the guys was so huge it was almost ridiculous. Probably a retired NBA player, I thought. Except I didn't think even basketball players grew that tall. Then I caught a glimpse of a brown, leathery face peering out at me from beneath the bill of the cap, and realized it wasn't just any old bodyguard type. It was Juan the Basawan. Dang, I thought, the guy really is super talented at going incognito, especially for someone of his overall size and hairiness. Behind him, kids were still streaming drowsily down the stairs and into the living room. The place was so packed it reminded me of the youth fair on opening night. "Certainly more of them than I'd expected," the Queen said, glancing back over her shoulder. "Joanna, who are all these people?" I asked. "They're my sister's victims," she explained. "The ones she turned into dolls, anyway." Which explained the boxes and boxes of toys. "Your sister, huh?" Off my not-so-pleased look, she smiled and said, "We all have family members we're less than fond of." Which I guess was true for most people, except that most people didn't have proud, twice-cursed brujas with the nasty habit of kidnapping little kids in their family trees. "Esperat," I said, holding up my hands like a chocolate cup. "So that giant doll collection of hers was actually all real people?" See, in fact, it's quite common practice in our culture for misbehaving children and naughty pets. Sort of, a minor punishment like a timeout. More like cruel and unusual, and now I felt really creeped out thinking back to one bored afternoon when the power had gone out and I'd spent like an hour or two fooling around with them, picking some up and making them dance and play fight like I used to do with my action figures. I hoped whoever they were didn't remember or hold a grudge. "But wait," I said as it hit me. "So then where are my Charlie?" I looked to my left and my entire world stopped. "Mommy? Poppy?" Instantly my parents broke away from the crowds and ran to me. "Mihio!" my mom shouted as she scooped me up in her arms. Her hug was crushing, squeezing every last ounce of air out of my lungs, but I didn't care. I squeezed her back, looking up at my dad as he wrapped his arms around both of us and began rocking back and forth. Suddenly, a flood of tears that had been building up for almost 2 months started pouring down my cheeks. I couldn't help it. I didn't want to help it. My mom sucked in a shaky breath as she ran her hand through my hair. My dad started crying. We missed you so much," he whispered, pressing his forehead against mine. His entire body was trembling. His hands were as big and calloused as I remembered. "We missed you so, so much." "I missed you guys too," I said. My voice wobbled like a busted tire. Now my mom was crying too, so was Violet. Even Alvin had teared up a bit. So many different emotions were racing through me, I could hardly take it. Love, joy, relief, happiness. My body felt impossibly weak and incredibly strong all at the same time, and even as I stood there, I knew that no matter how crazy the last few months had been, and they'd been insane, starting today, starting right now, everything was going to be okay. How did I know? Because we were a family again. Did you see the locket? My mother asked, leaning back to wipe tears from one of my cheeks. Did you find the map? I nodded, wiping my other cheek. Yeah, that was, what that was about. It's your abuelitas, my dad explained. The map was given to her by your grandfather. It was supposed to be a last resort. Somewhere she could escape to if something ever came after her. She passed it down to your mother once. We had you. When we realized the witch had found us, my mom said, we left it on your bed and then tried to lead her away from you. Our plan was to meet you back in the Paseo. For all of this, and us to hide down there together, but we never got the chance. My dad kissed me on top of my head, ruffled my hair a little. Doesn't matter now, he whispered, his voice still thickened with emotion. You did good, Charlie. Assist muy bien me heal. I smiled up at him through watery eyes and couldn't look away. It was so painful to think that just a few minutes ago, that evil brew had almost taken them away from me. Taken them away forever. Just the thought of it was enough to break my heart all over again. I hate to interrupt this moment, Mommy, Papi, I heard Queen Joanna say, but I need to have a quick word with Charlie. Es muy importante, I'm afraid. My mom looked up at her and nodded silently. I nodded too. Okay. Joanna and I left the kitchen through one of the larger holes in the walls and walked out into the backyard, away from all the confused kids roaming around. At the far edge of the lawn stood a large tree I'd never ever actually seen before. It must have stood close to 8 feet tall and had a mass of beautiful purple flowers growing in perfect, crisscrossing patterns up its thick trunk. I couldn't remember ever seeing another tree like it anywhere. As we got closer, the upper half of the trunk suddenly twisted around and a green moss-covered face grinned down at me. A familiar face, still. I almost had a heart attack. Madre Mon, I shouted, what are you doing here? She just wanted to apologize for how she treated you back at Provincia, Joanna said. See, I was really rude, she said. I had no idea what a brave and special boy you truly were, and I had a terrible case of leaf blisters, so I might have been un poquito moody. Un poquito means a little bit in Spanish, and that was probably a little bit of an understatement in itself, like mucho moody, but I was still grateful for the apology. But I don't get it. So, you guys were just in the neighborhood or something? Joanna smiled. No, Charlie. Si el justo juez en el cadeo, I thought it would be prudent to keep an eye on you even after we received the misleading report from the Oracle, and yes, Ponce has been known to do that on occasion. He doesn't exactly trust me. He's lost some faith in La Liga over the years, anyway. El Cadejo volunteered to shadow you, while Juez attempted to apprehend El Sombrero. We suspected that he might have some insight into La Mano Toledo's plan? Like most treasure hunters, he tends to deal in secrets as much as artifacts in any event. Wes finally managed to capture him, and it was the enormous hatred one himself who told us about La Cuca. How she'd embedded herself in your life, her plans. Apparently, one of his acolytes had overheard some rumors. See, once Wes told us what he'd learned, we got here as quickly as we could, said Medromon. She looked at Joanna. This is what? 20 minutes ago? Wait, so, you traveled all the way from Colombia to Miami in 20 minutes? I know, Slo, but there's been a lot of rain across South America, so the route system is pretty backed up. I had no idea what she was talking about, but I wasn't about to ask. I wasn't sure my brain could handle the answer at the moment. In the distance, a motorcycle engine revved and roared. I turned. Across the street, a big bulky dude dressed in head-to-toe black leather was straddling a sleek black bike. He raised a hand to his helmet in a salute before blasting off down the block, making me wonder who the heck he was. That is, until I saw a column of wispy gray smoke drifting out through the mirrored lens of his helmet. Chris! But you got it done on your own, Charlie, Queen Joanna said, sounding like a teacher whose favorite student just solved their first algebraic equation. We're all very thankful and more than a little impressed. And you do know what you are by now, see? Asked Madramon. Yeah, La Cuca told me, I said. Queen Joanna smiled at me, a proud sort of smile. That's why you've always liked animals. Wait, how did you do that? Because all the morphlings do. Their collective DNA existing inside you, it's part of their calling. You're one with creation, a balancing force on the earth. Oh man, that was awesome and kind of mind-blowing too. I was like walking Noah's Ark or something. I love that. I'm so glad to hear that, Joanna says, still smiling, but then she and Madramon exchanged looks and the Queen's expressions changed, turning serious. I hate to bring this up so quickly, Julie, especially with everything that you've been through recently, but as it turns out, La Liga is once again in need of your help. Let me guess, I said. Something to do with the hairy hand? More like everything. There are sinister forces at work, Charlie. Forces even darker and more dangerous than La Cuca. Evil is gathering to the south, said Madramon, and beyond the sea. So what's going on? I asked. The Witch Queen's eyes locked onto mine. Have you ever heard of El Chupacabra? Wow. Now we're at acknowledgements before we go to our next book. Acknowledgements. A wise person once said that it takes a village to bring a book to life, and although that is certainly true in the case of this particular book, it took a league. Not as it were a league of shadows, but a league of wonderful and talented individuals whose selfless dedication to their craft has left me in awe. What follows is my feeble attempt at a thank you to my editor and fairy godmother Fiona Simpson, whose wit and boundless enthusiasm have made this entire process one I will forever cherish. You've not only made me feel welcome at Simon & Schuster, but You've also made me feel like family. How can I ever thank you enough for falling in love with Charlie and Violet and taking a chance on me? I can't. To my agent and fellow 305er, Rena Rosner, I have no idea how you find the time to do all the amazing things that you do, but I'm so grateful to have you in my corner. To my wonderful publisher, Mara Anastas, and to the incredible Aladdin team, Caitlin Sweeney, Sarah Burko, Anna Jarzab, Alisa Nibro, Amy Hendricks, and Christian Vega. I can't thank all of you enough for your belief and support. To my copy editor, Panina Lopez, whose razor-sharp eyes could no doubt split a monkey's hair, and to my production editor, the incomparable Elizabeth Mims, who has improved this book in 2 different languages. Many thanks y muchas gracias. To Manuel Sombreco, my insanely talented cover artist, and to the creative powerhouse duo of Karen Paprocki, art director, and Hilary Zaricki, interior designer, who came together to create my most visually stunning book these 2 eyes have ever beheld. You 3 have truly surpassed my wildest imaginations. To my tireless publicist, Vanessa De Jesus, thank you so much for having my back. Hopefully one day we'll get to hang out at La Calaca and have some of those BBQ cauliflower nuggets you came up with. Of course, these acknowledgments wouldn't be complete without a huge, misty-eyed thank you to all my family and friends. Los amo a todos. Special shout out to my cousin and all-around El Niña Alex, aka Dro, aka Shining Outlaw, who has gifted me more electronics than I can even count, including the Mac on which I'm currently typing this. Love you, cuz! Also, to my cousin Big Al, aka Don Alberto Corleone, aka Barbarossa, who's one of the coolest cats on the planet. Mucho amor, primo. And I certainly can't leave out the 2 best primas ever, not to mention 2 of the fiercest hide-and-seek players I've ever had the privilege of running around my neighborhood with, Lauren and Alexandra. Or my favorite Tia, you know who you are. I'd also like to give a great big Lone Star State-sized thank you to the Texas Book Festival and the Tweens Read Festival, 2 can't-miss events for any book lover. Seriously, don't miss these. I'd be completely remiss if I didn't also offer very, very special thanks to all the teachers and librarians out there. You all are the backbone of civilization. The world can never thank you enough or pay you enough, but it's a different topic. And lastly, but by no means least, a great big thank you to you, wonderful leader. Where would any of us be if it weren't for you? Alright, so we're going to go through the glossary really quick just because there's a few different languages going on. So, glossary. Vocalica is a species of weather fairies native to Bolivia. Basawan is a huge hairy hominids that inhabit the dense forests of northern Spain, i.e. the Basque region. Often referred to as the Lords of the Forest, Basawans were talented farmers, millers, and blacksmiths. Bruja, a witch or sorceress. El Cadeo, a supernatural creature created by God to protect mankind. It manifests itself in the form of an enormous white dog. Tales of its heroics and benevolence have been told all over Central and South America for many years. Calacas, undead skeletons sometimes depicted as farriers of the dead in Mexican and Latino culture. El Cambiador, an extraordinarily gifted crossbreed who can partially manifest any animal trait found in nature. Spanish for the morphling or the changer. Cjelos, evil magma monster that live deep inside active volcanoes in Chile. They are said to be responsible for earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And if you guys don't know, they are hellbound right now. They're going crazy. Chulachuquis, jungle dwarves with the ability to make form of both animals and humans. They are considered by many to be protectors of the Amazon. The only way to identify one is to keep an eye out for its backward foot. Cameljinguas literally translate to tongue eaters. These giant birds feed primarily on tongues of cattle. Most sightings have been reported in Honduras. La Cuca, a legendary witch and boogie woman known by many names: Coco, Cuco, Caca, and Cucuy. Her stories were first told centuries ago in Portugal and Galicia, where she was described as a fire-breathing dragon. Oh no. Duendes, a race of gnome-like beings found throughout Central and South America and Iberian Peninsula. La Fuente de la Juventud, the Fountain of Youth, a magical water source capable of granting immortality. Gentil, plural, gentilac, race of giants believed to dwell in the mountainous regions of northern Spain. Augusto Juez, a legendary Salvadoran figure who prowls the night on horseback in search of evildoers. His name translates as righteous judge, and it is said that the night belongs to him, and him alone. La Llorona, or weeping woman, the spirit of a once young and beautiful woman who, in a fit of jealous rage, drowned her two children despite her cheating husband. I just can't imagine that. La Luz Mala, a natural glowing orb said to lead unsuspecting travelers into danger, most often encountered in the swamplands and marshes of Uruguay and Argentina. The name literally means evil light. Madre Mon, the protector of jungles and mountains of Colombia. Mother Mountain is considered by some to be the personification of nature itself, and sometimes curses those who steal their neighbor's land or harm their animals. Muki, cave-dwelling, goblin-like creatures found throughout South America. They possess the ability to transform rock into precious metals and are said to make pacts with miners, many times to the miners' harm. Retro. Nawal, a shape-shifting witch or sorcerer capable of transforming itself into animals, most commonly large dogs, jaguars, or birds. Legends of the Nawal first appear in Mesoamerican culture. Owakampu, a species of ogres with turtle-like shells on their backs. In Argentina and Chile, it is believed that any child playing unsupervised is at risk of being kidnapped by these monsters. La Sihuan Aba, a shape-shifting horse-faced demon. She preys primarily on disobedient children and unfaithful men. Well, you're gonna have a whole shitload of that. She is known by many names: Sigua in Honduras, Sigua in Costa Rica, and Siguanaba in El Salvador, and her legend is told almost everywhere Spanish is spoken. El sombrero. A fearsome boogeyman known throughout Guatemala and Mexico for braided hair, both human and animal, wearing a ridiculously oversized hat and serenading young maidens with his fabled silver guitar. Tartaros, a race of cave-dwelling one-eyed giants native to the Basque region of Spain. They are known for eating a sheep a day. Well, hey, that ain't too bad, seriously, knowing other monsters. El Tucano Yuá, known in Brazil as the bird of the evil eye, its beak is said to be so deadly that it can kill both humans and animals simply by being pointed at them. Next, and last but not least, is Zips. Zips means shy, spear-wielding, fairy-like creatures most often spotted protecting herds of deer in Central America. So it says here the adventure continues as brujas, zombies, and vampires stalk Central America. It was raining frogs. That's the first thing I noticed when we stepped through La Bruja's mirror. Fat ones, green ones, black ones. They tumbled from the sky, bounced off the road, clunked off mailboxes. They croaked and chirped and peeped. They hopped through the tall grass like punch-drunk boxers. Plopped down on the toe of my sneaker, glared up at me with its bulging, beady eyes and said, "Yep." I stared at it for a moment, frowning, then squinted up at the dark churning clouds from where the slimy amphibians were falling in bunches. In knots. My name is Charlie Hernandez, and over the last few months my life has been all kinds of freaky. I'd grown horns, sprouted feathers, teleported from South Florida to northwestern Spain, made a quick stop in the land of the dead, and even faced off against one of the most famous and feared brujas in all of human history. But raining frogs? Yeah, that was new to me. "Estamos aquí?" said the witch queen, her green eyes blazing in the gloom. I looked around, and we were standing on the side of a narrow dirt track, smack dab in the middle of, well, nowhere. A huge grassy field spread out before us, flanked by walls of thick forest, pines maybe, and the air was cold. The sky was dark, choked with storm clouds. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Where exactly is here? I asked, but La Bruja didn't answer. Violet said, "And frogs," but she didn't answer that either. Maybe 30 yards ahead of us, a strip of yellow crime scene tape had been stretched across the field, from end to end, looped around the trunks of the nearest trees. A crowd of curious people was pressing up against the tape, shouting questions as a dozen or so police officers tried to keep them from busting through. There were even more people wandering aimlessly around. These were dodging and following brokers while snapping pictures of the sky or recording the whole thing on their smartphones. A couple of little kids in denim overalls were trying to catch the frogs as they fell. I watched one of them catch a plummeting toad in her front pocket, then start cheering and jumping all over the place like she'd just won the Super Bowl. Honestly, if I'd been about 7 years younger and wearing overalls, I would have totally jumped in for a round or two, but that looked pretty fun, actually. Past the main crowd, more police officers were hauling heavy wooden barricades out of the blocks of police vans, their flashing lights turning the woods red and blue, red then blue. "Do not leave my side," Queen Joanna warned us, "and speak to no one. We cannot be seen. We entienden." As we started across the field, the wind kicked up, shrieked through the trees, and slinging the amphibians sideways now. I dodged one the size of a frisbee, then wrapped my arms around myself, wondering where the heck we were and what the heck we were doing here. Thanks to the police cruisers, which had the word policia and not police emblazoned across the driver's side doors, I knew we weren't in Miami anymore. But that was about it, and that wasn't exactly a whole lot to go on. "Are they going to let us through?" Violet asked as we approached the barricade. But again, Joanna didn't answer. She simply touched one pale, ringed finger to the golden brooch pinned to the front of her dress. It looked like some sort of butterfly maybe, or a giant moth, and whispered, "Vuela," which means fly. And the pin's wings suddenly beat to life. It rose silently into the air, a golden blur in the night, and then flew out ahead of us, floating lazily over to where the large crowd was pressing against the police tape. Leaving dusty, glittery trails, the pin began to fly circles above anyone's head, and next thing I knew, all 50 or so people, cops included, were staring up at it, some pointing and smiling, others giggling with childlike wonder in their eyes. They were all so mesmerized by it, in fact, that not one of them even glanced our way as we ducked under the rib bone of a yellow tape and marched right past them, following the rhythmic swish of the Witch Queen's cape. Yep, Joanna was awesome like that. Made it maybe 15 yards when a fat, bumpy, squishy toad plopped down on the top of my head and just sort of sat there like a woody green hat. Glancing up at La Bruja, I said, "So, how the frogs?" "The dark magia in the atmosphere has begun to warp nature," she quickly replied, and pretty casually too, like she just said, "Hey, your shoes are untied," or "Hey, you dropped your pencil." Personally, it was my opinion that whenever the words dark and magic came together in a sentence, the entire situation should be taken a bit more seriously, but hey, that was just me. "So, not a good sign, huh?" The Queen stayed quiet, but the frog on my head said, "Yeah, but..." and hopped off, and I had to resist the urge to try to catch it in my pocket. The head where the field curved out of sight, a man and woman in white lab coats strode into view, walking this way. They were carrying walkie-talkies and yelling into them in a language that was almost familiar. Portuguese, maybe? "Escondance," Joanna whispered, and we did exactly that, ducking out of sight and vanishing into the dark woods. Leaves crunched and branches made shifting patterns against the sky as we zigzagged through the trees, leaping frogs and logs and rocks. "Do not slow," she ordered, and Violet and I weren't about to argue. Joanna, also known as the Witch Queen of Toledo, was one of the most powerful brujas on the face of the planet. Not only that, but she was the leader of the League of Shadows, which was sort of like a superhero team-up of the most legendary mythological beings, or sombras, in all of Hispanic mythology. The first time we'd met, she'd fed me worms, then tried to drown me. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was pretty gross. She totally messed them over. I would say effed them over, but I'm trying to be polite. But surprisingly, it had all been for my own good, so I wasn't holding a grudge. She had dark auburn hair, long dark nails, and even darker lashes framing her glowing emerald eyes. You top that off with golden crowns she liked to wear, and her elaborate tiered gown, the color of a midnight sky. She might as well have had a big neon sign over her head that read, "Supernatural royalty coming through." As we hurried through the woods, Violet shot me an uneasy look, and finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I opened my mouth to ask Joanna where she was taking us and what in the land of the living we were doing here, but as we emerged from the trees, the words died on my lips. My jaw dropped open. My toes seemed to hook themselves into the ground. Before us, rising up almost as tall as the great trees that flanked the field, stood the most terrible thing I had ever seen. A thing so mind-bogglingly awful. My suddenly panicking brain could hardly make sense of it. Anyways, guys and gals, on that note, we are going to our second music break where we have the most wonderful, gorgeous, beautiful, and amazing Miss Mia Savage with Not a Phase, Singing to Your Grave, Bury Me in Heaven, and the bottom line, you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Break us out of this circle. What I got so wrong? Got a part of you with me too. What I brought to life, just a hollow victory. Lost my head tonight, things start to look the same. So waiting to let this alone someday, yeah. Softly talking to your girlfriend. I'll be saying to your face,
right now between fear and love. Right now between fear and love.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, boys and girls, guys and gals. I hope you guys are hanging in there, hanging tough tonight. But yeah, tonight we're finishing up our book, Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows by Cjelos. This is like the last few pages, and then we have Mr. Stephen King's book, Cell. This has no chapter, no nothing, so I guess this is the outro for the artist, what is the word? Autobiographer, the author, I don't know, but this is about Mr. Cjelos, and he says, "When I was 9 years old, my parents took me on a trip to Spain. It was in early October during the Concours de Castell celebration, which is basically this huge festival where people get together to create these awesome body towers. Think cheerleader pyramids, but with a whole lot more people climbing all over each other, trying to see which team can build the tallest, most complex tower or castell. In Catalonia, it was a centuries-old tradition, something everyone took forward and looked forward to all year, and this looked a lot like that, except a nightmare version. This tower stood at least 30 feet high and was made up of the lifeless, shriveled-up carcasses of at least 50 milk cows. Most had been stacked flat on their bellies, one on top of another, but some were lying upside down, their bony hoof legs sticking straight up to the support and the ones above. There was also a whole mess of bones, big ones, prickled ones, clean of flesh, spines and femurs, hip bones, which seemed to act like some kind of glue, holding the whole thing together, and the air was heavy with rotting smells and hummed with buzzing flies. Everywhere it was seen, and everywhere I lived, it was all slack jaws, bulging purple eyes, and the saggy black and white folds of dried up cowhide. It's a cat's left bones, I thought dazedly. And even with my head spinning and my pulse thudding wildly in my ears, I was positive about one thing. This wasn't just a random stack of dead cows. No, this was something else, something dark and sinister and otherworldly. And even more terrifying, it was alive. I could feel its presence like a physical force, like greedy, invisible fingers reaching out from deep within the bony pile, fingers that would grab me if they could, that would hurt me, would hurt all of us. Oh my God! Violet breathed, staring up at it, shaking her head. Is that me? The abomination you see before you, niños, said the witch, has been called many different things by many different peoples, but it is mostly widely known as Castel. I blinked, not sure I'd heard it right. Hold up, you mean like Castel? Like Festival of People Pyramids? The festival began as a celebration of the day that was liberated from these ancient altars of different magic. It is, in fact, its genesis. Sweat had broken out all over the queen's face. She wiped it with the back of one hand and stared down at me with the eyes that seemed to swim in their sockets. Her cheeks were all red and blotchy. She looked tired. No, she looked exhausted. We haven't seen one many years, and this one here in Portugal has many worried for they are without question an omen of a rising evil. As she spoke, the wind gusted, tugging at our clothes, and I was pelted by a hailstorm of frogs and the size of quarters. One somehow managed to drop down the front of my shirt, and had I not shaken it free, my titas would have been frozen. Beside me, the witch queen made an odd hacking wheezing sound, as though she was having trouble getting air into her lungs. Then began the back away from the terrible pile of bones. Excuse me a moment, Pardon me. Are you okay? Violet asked her. I'm fine, no te preocupes, por mí? Can we, look around? Sí, como no. That is why I brought you both. As Joanna headed farther up the field, away from the Castel, Violet began walking slow circles around the castle of cow corpses, but looking it up and down with squinted eyes like some crime scene detective on a TV show. Had this been anyone else, I probably would have laughed and told them to get real, but this wasn't just me. This was Violet Ray, or Ultraviolet, as I like to call her. Violet wasn't a morphling like me, but she didn't need any special powers, mostly because she wasn't your typical middle school student. Take a peek into her backpack and you'll find a pair of military-grade wire cutters, extra large can of pepper spray, and a professional forensics kit all tucked neatly beside her. Hello Kitty pencil case and pom-poms. Well, she seems, quite over-eager. I love Hello Kitty. Besides, being the captain of both the debate team and the cheerleading squad, Violet was editor-in-chief of our school's newspaper, the Leon Gazette, and there wasn't much she wouldn't do to get a story, including blackmail. Trust me, I would know. Violet was a tenacious gal. As she was pretty as she was smart, and so smart she was practically a genius. cool part was V wasn't one of those people who are all into themselves either. She was caring, sensitive, unbelievably brave, and sometimes even motivational in an army drill sergeant sort of way. In 2nd grade, she'd convinced me that I possessed the inner strength to do the monkey bars backward and using only 3 fingers, so I'd given it a shot, banged my head on the edge of the slide, and spent the rest of that day in the nurse's office, and have been madly in love with Violet ever since. She might not have been old enough to operate a motor vehicle, but the girl already had detective skills on par with Sherlock Holmes, and was mostly thanks to those skills that I was still alive, so, you know, I was happy to stand back and let her do her thing, and currently, Violet was wearing her cheerleading uniform, sneakers, white skirt, crisp white top with gray and blue stripes down both arms. Not exactly the ideal attire for going all CSI on a pile of dead cows, but somehow she made it work. I racked my brain. Dips? I guess? Those are vampire dogs, obviously. A chupacabra too. They're probably big and hungry enough? Check these out! Violet lifted a fold of skin at the base of the dead cow's neck, revealing a pair of marks, not holes. How'd you see that? I asked, stunned. It was like the girl had X-ray vision or something. I see everything, Charlie. It's my gift. She sank even lower into a squat, her face now less than 3 inches from the cow's. Come on, V. Stop touching it. It's dead. It's just a cow, Charlie. I know, but it's gross, and if I'd thought that was nasty... She then took her other hand and stuck 2 fingers into the holes of the cow's neck. There was this sick, sticky squish sound, and I nearly barfed on the spot. Definitely puncture wounds, she said, about 6 inches deep. She jammed her fingers in deeper. A nasty yellowish pus gushed up out of the holes. Make that 8. Please, I blurped, tasting this morning's breakfast, pork rinds and chicken and egg empanada in the back of my throat. Stop! Last thing I wanted was to barf all over the coolest girl in the world, but she sure wasn't making it easy on me. Finally, Violet pulled her fingers out of the cow, and she wiped them on the front of her uniform, staining it blood red and pus yellow. Yuck and double yuck. I think I'm gonna puke, I admitted. They ignored me. You think a chupacabra could have sucked this mini animals dry? I mean, these things got served like milkshakes. I sighed. What's wrong? I think you just ruined milkshakes for me, like, forever. She rolled her eyes. Charlie, I'm being serious. Could a chupacabra have done this? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe a pack of them? And are they known to pile up their prey like this? No, I've never heard of anything like this. And I was pretty sure I wasn't the only one either. Huh. Violet was down on one knee, now searching around the stinky, blood-spattered, fly-infested base of Castell as frogs hopped and croaked around us. This girl must have been an ER doctor in a past life, because she certainly didn't have any problem with blood or guts. Now, for the record, I wasn't squeamish or anything, but heck, just last summer I'd eaten an entire dung beetle on a dare. Okay, so maybe I hadn't actually eaten a dung beetle, but I had almost touched its nasty armored insect legs to the tip of my tongue, and that had to count for something, right? Anyway, I had to draw the line on nastiness somewhere, and shriveled up cow carcasses seemed like a mighty fine place to draw it. Oh, come on, V, get up. That's so nasty. I couldn't even watch anymore, seriously. Interesting. She held up a hunk of wood. No, something else. I squinted. Is that... Chanceletta? Actually, they're called clogs. That's what the Dutch call them, anyway. She paused for a second, thinking, looks like Cinderella lost her slipper at the ball. We should show this to Joanna. Come on. The witch queen of Toledo had been standing in the middle of the field, maybe 30 yards from Castell, staring up at the dark sky, which was still pouring frogs. Now, she did turn, and she saw a surprising flicker in her eyes. You two are still here? She asked, sounding baffled. Well, we never left. I couldn't help pointing out. Geez, what's up with her? Violet held out the clog. We found this near the Castell, she said, and Joanna smiled weakly. That's very nice, mi vida. No, I mean, don't you think it's odd? Like, look at it. This thing's got to be at least 100 years old, and owls aren't exactly known for their footwear. La Bruja nodded like she got Violet's point, but her glowing green gaze had definitely drifted past her. Odd. See. But we have bigger problems. I turned, trying to see what she was looking at. Like what? We're being watched. By who? Violet asked. The Witch Queen's voice dropped to a low whisper that told me I wasn't going to like the answer. Minerals. Alright, so we got the thing about Ryan Calleo, and it says Ryan Calleo was born and raised in South Florida. He graduated summa cum laude from the University of Miami and spends most of his free time coming up with excuses to go hang out at the beach. Then, he isn't lazing out on the sand or working on his doggy paddle. Ryan can be found purchasing more books than should be legally permitted or sampling artesian olive oils. Yes, that is a thing. Having been the so-called capital of Latin America, Ryan knows the importance of diversity in our communities and is passionate about writing books that children of all ethnicities can relate to. Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows in his first novel. And then I go back to the back because that's where we started. Anyways, it says, Charlie Hernandez grew up listening to his grandmother telling him stories from Latino and Hispanic mythology. Sometimes she'd draw pictures of monsters from the tales for him to identify. Charlie thought it was all a game, but he should have known better. Now his entire world has turned upside down. A fire destroyed his house, and his parents have disappeared. He's living with a temporary guardian while the police continue to look for his mom and dad. On top of that, he's grown horns. Yeah, real honest-to-goodness horns. And they're small and honey-colored, but they're horns. Then the feathers appear. Feathers growing out of his pores, covering his arms and chest, and suddenly, he is reminded of one of his abuela's myths. This one was about a creature called a morphling, a shapeshifter. But myths aren't real, are they? As Charlie and his longtime crush Violet Ray set out to search for the truth, they realize that some monsters are hiding under the bed. They're hiding in plain sight. Heck yes! This book was awesome! Heck yeah, good job. Good job, Ryan Clay. All right, we have Uno Mas book to start. This is by my friend, my hero, Mr. Stephen King with Cell. And it's a novel. And then I see him, oh my god, just the look of him, the odyssey of him standing in between the doors of a frackin' ambulance. Holy Nikes, are you freaking serious right now? Alright, so let's read the inner cover, shall we? Or should we? Yeah, let's just start with the back and then work to the front, but it's just Stephen King back there. Anyways. There's a reason Cell rhymes with hell. On October 1st, God is in heaven. The stock market stands at 10,140. Most of the planes are on time, and Clayton Rydell, an artist from Maine, is almost bouncing up Boylston Street in Boston. He just landed a comic book deal that might finally enable him to support his family by making art instead of teaching it. He's already picked up a small but expensive gift for his long-suffering wife, and he knows just what he'll get for his boy Johnny. Why not a little treat for himself? Clay's feeling good about the future. That changes in a hurry. The cause of the devastation is a phenomenon that will come to be known as the Pulse. Ooh, that's creepy because there was that bar called the Pulse and really, really, really bad. Scary, scary things happen there. I would say prayers for them, for peace and passing, and to let go of that trauma, because that was one of the most traumatic shootings I'd ever heard about. Please bless the Pulse. Please bless the people that suffered during the Pulse and let them find peace and happiness on the other side. Oh my goodness. Everyone's cell phone, Clay and the few desperate survivors who join him suddenly find themselves in the pitch-black night of civilization's darkest age. Surrounded by chaos, carnage, and a human horde that has been reduced to its basest nature and then begins to evolve. There's really no escape for this nightmare, but for Clay, an arrow points home to Maine, and as he and his fellow refugees make their harrowing journey north, they begin to see crude signs confirming their direction. KASHWAK equals NO-FO. Promise, perhaps, or a threat? There are 193 million cell phones, and I'm telling you, this was... Oh shit, sorry. I just dropped it. I gotta tell you what year this was published, because this was in the 90s. But copyright 2006. Alrighty then. 2006, I guess. Holy shnikes. There are 193 million cell phones in the United States alone. Who doesn't have one? Stephen King's utterly gripping, gory, and fascinating novel doesn't just ask the question, "Can you hear me now?" It answers it in vengeance. Stephen King lives in Maine with his wife, the novelist Tabitha King. He does not own a cell phone. And you know why I'm so freaked out about this? Yeah, I know. Seriously. So, cell phones existed. Different things existed. I came back home in I want to say 1999, from Fayetteville, Tennessee back to Cortez, Colorado with my daughter, newborn daughter. I think I remember getting this when I was younger, but now it all makes sense. It was when me and Kenzie went back to my padre's house, and my mom and dad lived in the bedroom that's kind of upstairs, which is weird for like a double wide trailer, but there was stairs in the middle. My daughter Kenzie learned to crawl and climb before she learned to walk, and it really freaking freaked me out, but I didn't use. She would always crawl up there to my dad's room, which she called her papa. She really loved her papa. We lived on the other part of the house. There was the living room, there was the kitchen, then there was my dad's office, which is just kind of like a dining room area or whatever that he used as his office right before my bedroom. And I don't know, like, I don't remember having issues getting to sleep or anything like that. I just know this is the time the internet started breaking out. It's like, in the year 2000, in the year 2000. So, I go on this site, I meet this guy from Canada, and he's got one eye. Aye, Captain. But he was the coolest guy ever, and that's when, and still, marijuana is legal in Canada and shit like that. Like, it was super awesome to meet him. I cannot remember his name, and the, oh my goodness. The email I used was O'Brien Video and Photography. What the crack? So, I'm wondering if I go back and try to open that up. If I can. I know I've tried in the past and it just didn't work out. But we'll see if it will. Cause dang, that's pretty intense. Please tell you what. Me and my daughter did end up moving out, and we were together for over a year at Sleeping Ute Apartments. Sleeping Ute Mountain is actually a dormant volcano, so far as I know, but we lived there for a short stint, and then I started dating a guy, and then my my apartment manager was named Donna Butt, B-U-T-T, and yeah, she was totally against the guy I was dating, which I called him the psycho fisherman, so hopefully she's right on something. And I ended up moving out. I think it was about the time my lease broke, or she was just giving me an easy out. But I ended up leaving. Holy frack. I don't remember. I think he was gone at this point. Because after that, I moved to Minkus, Colorado. I went there myself. Actually, I took my sister Sarah Getter, and we went and looked at this house. Come to find out, this house was made up of 2 cabins from Mesa Verde, or Mesa Verde, whatever you want to call it. And it's like 2 cabins put together, but between these 2 cabins is a room that is the kitchen. And the kitchen is the newest part of this house. I didn't ever see somebody there. I did on several occasions see a black cat. So the first time I saw this black cat, I will say I was in cabin 1 because I have to go through the kitchen or go through the bathroom to get to cabin 2. Holy shnikes. I'm sitting there by the heater, and I believe it's like a gas-powered furnace or something. And I'm like hugging myself and rocking back and forth, and then I see something that catches my attention. Like, I have to grab something for my daughter, Kenzie, who was about a year old at this point, I would say, maybe a year and a half. And following this cat where it went, it shot to the right. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on? So I went towards the right as well. Never found anything. I went through that side room. I looked in the closet. I looked in the whole room. I looked in the bathroom connecting area. I looked in my room. I looked everywhere repeatedly. That cat was not there. There was one other time I saw this cat, and I believe it was 9/11, and I was doing dishes. My Uncle Daddy Rex, aka Uncle Bill, called and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Nothing, just unpacking and getting my shit straight. "You got your TV plugged in?" "No, I don't. I'm still unpacking my bags, and that was like the last thing I cared about. You know, I'm not all sucked into TV or whatever." He's like, "Well, you need to plug it in right now." "Right now?" "Yeah. Put the phone down on the table. Find your TV, plug it in right now. Power, cable, everything. Plug it in right now." I'm like, my uncle was so lighthearted and everything. I'm like, oh man, this must be like some circus thing or whatever. And then I turn it on, and right about that time, the second plane hit the second tower. And my jaw hit the floor. Like, I didn't even know what the crap to think. That was so insane. What? Okay, so first I'm seeing the ghost cat, and then I'm seeing this. Oh my gosh, good thing I kept it together, because I could have been like, "Everybody run for your lives!" But it wasn't ending, it was just getting more and more complicated, you know what I'm saying? I still can't get over that day and the different things that happened and the way things fell, and to me, nothing makes sense. Even George Bush, he's in I want to say kindergarten class, but it could have been second or third grade, and he's like, "Okay, kiddle diddles, I'm going to read you Green Eggs and Ham. What do you think about that?" "Yeah!" So he's reading it, and then, you know, I think he only gets like 2 pages in, and then a guy comes in, "Mr. President." He gets this surprised, fake-ass looking look on his face. What? So, okay kids, I gotta go. Put the book down, run to the left. You guys already made these deals. You guys already spread all this artillery and these guns and everything to the other side. Oh my gosh. Even before Saddam Hussein, we were friends with... Oh my gosh, what does this mean? Anyways, training everything with this guy, Osama bin Laden. And then he had to hide in basically a tomb of a cave in this little tiny spot, but they did find him. Oh my goodness, you guys. The world has gone crazy. The world, I want to say, is going to 80 double hockey sticks in a handbag, but I ain't gonna say that because I ain't going there. I've already been there, here on this world. don't know, what do you guys think? Like, leave me a comment in the chat or in the comments or whatever under this YouTube or Spreaker and let me know, what do you think? Am I being crazy? Am I being outlandish, thinking something's happening and the end is near? And yes, I know the end has been near and things have been happening that show the end is near since the freaking beginning of time. And tell you what, dude, my dude, seriously, yes. How many people run this world? When is the New World Order happening? And when I say these things, I'm like, bitch, you sound crazy. I frackin' know. I do. I frackin' know. But what about you guys? What do you think? What have you seen? What have you witnessed that makes you know things are happening? Things are happening right now, and it's insane in the membrane. Oh, the aliens are coming. Guess what? I'm pretty sure the aliens have been here. Alright, so I'm gonna read the inside of this book. There's a reason Cell rhymes with hell. On October 1st, God is in his heaven. The stock market stands at 10,140. Most of the planes are on time, and Clayton Rydell, an artist from Maine, is almost bouncing up Boylston Street in Boston. He's just landed a comic book deal that might finally enable him to support his family by making art instead of teaching it. He's already picking up a small but expensive gift for his long-suffering wife, and he knows just what he'll get for his boy Johnny, but not a little treat for himself. Clay's feeling good about the future, and I swear to God I read this already. That changes in a hurry. The cause of the devastation is a phenomenon that will come to be known as the pulse, and the delivery method is a cell phone, everyone's cell phone. Clay and the few desperate survivors who join him suddenly find themselves in the pitch black night of civilization's darkest age, surrounded by chaos, carnage, and a human horde that has been reduced to the basest nature and then begins to evolve. There's really no escaping this nightmare, but for Clay, an arrow points home to Maine, and as he and his fellow refugees make their harrowing journey north, they begin to see a crude design conforming their direction. Catwalk equals no dash foe, a promise perhaps, or a threat. There are 193 million cell phones in the United States alone. Who doesn't have one? Stephen King's utterly gripping, gory, and fascinating novel doesn't just ask the question, "Can you hear me now?" It answers it with vengeance. That is so trippy! And then Stephen King lives in Maine with his wife, the novelist Tabitha King. He does not own a cell phone, and yes, I did read that before. Holy shnikes, but you guys, holy shnikes, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night Rockies. Oh my goodness. It's awesome. Tony, please. Thank you so much to all of my friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitch, YouTube, iHeartRadio is my favorite, and Spreaker. Wherever you may be listening Beyond the Omniverse tonight, I had a wonderful time, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night. We got trippy TikToks with me, TessaTNT, so Everything should be frackin' cool, frackin' awesome, and I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as I do. Don't forget, fam, we are all in this together. We can make the world a bit better, and together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there really is no us. Until next time, nighty night, live and light. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. I will see you back here, same crazy time, same crazy place, tomorrow night on Spreaker. Nighty night, live and light. I love you.